David and Evelyn had been married for 8 years, living in a quiet suburb outside Charlotte, North Carolina. They met in college at UNC, fell hard, and promised each other forever under the oak trees on campus. David worked as a project manager for a construction firm, steady and reliable. Evelyn was a graphic designer, creative and full of life. They had a small house, 2 dogs, and plans for kids someday. Life felt solid. Lately, though, Evelyn had seemed distant. She'd stay late at the office, claiming deadlines, or scroll on her phone with a half-smile David didn't recognize. He chalked it up to stress. They still laughed together, still made love on Sunday mornings, still said I love you every night. He trusted her completely. One Friday evening, David came home early with takeout from their favorite barbecue spot. Hoping to surprise her, the house was empty. Her phone went straight to voicemail. He texted, "Got ribs and slaw. Where are you at?" No reply. By midnight, worry turned to confusion. At 2 a.m., he heard her key in the door. Evelyn slipped in, hair messy, makeup smudged. She smelled like whiskey and someone else's cologne. "Client dinner ran late," she mumbled, avoiding his eyes. David wanted to believe her. He really did. David didn't push her that night. He told himself it was nothing, just a work thing. But the next morning, while Evelyn showered, he glanced at her phone on the kitchen counter. It buzzed. A text from Charles' work popped up last night. "Was everything I've missed. Can't stop thinking about you." David's stomach dropped. Charles, he knew that name. Charles was Evelyn's ex from before college, the high school sweetheart who'd broken her heart when he moved to California after graduation. They'd been together for years. First love, the whole deal. Evelyn had said it took her ages to get over him. David had never worried. That was ancient history. He didn't open the thread. He put the phone down and pretended he hadn't seen it. But all day at work, the words burned in his mind. When Evelyn got home, she was brighter than she'd been in weeks, humming, kissing him on the cheek, making plans for the weekend. David watched her, searching for cracks. That night, after she fell asleep, he checked her phone again. The thread went back months. Flirty messages at first, then deeper. Charles had moved back to Charlotte 6 months ago for a tech job. They'd bumped into each other at a coffee shop. One drink turned into dinners. The messages were full of old nicknames, memories, promises that it was just catching up. "Until last night, I never stopped loving you." David felt the floor disappear beneath him. David didn't sleep. By morning, he'd memorized every message. There were photos to selfies of them at a rooftop bar downtown. Evelyn laughing the way she used to laugh with him. The last one, from 2 nights ago, showed her hand on Charles's thigh under the table. When Evelyn woke up, David was sitting in the living room with coffee gone cold. He placed her phone on the table between them. Screen unlocked to the thread with Charles, her face drained of color. "David, who is he to you now?" His voice was calm, scarier than yelling. She sat down, eyes filling. It started as just talking. He reached out when he moved back. "I didn't plan, but you slept with him." It wasn't a question. Tears spilled. "Once Friday, I was drunk, and it just happened. I swear it was only once." David laughed, a bitter sound. "You told him you never stopped loving him. I don't know what I feel anymore." She reached for his hand. He pulled away. "I love you, David. You're my home." Charles's nostalgia, a mistake. He stood up. "I need space. I'm going to my brother's for a few days." As he packed a bag, Evelyn sobbed in the kitchen, begging him not to leave. He walked out without looking back. David spent a week at his brother's place in Raleigh, sleeping on the couch and staring at the ceiling most nights. Evelyn texted every day, long apologies, promises to cut Charles off, offers to go to counseling. He read them but didn't reply. The hurt was too raw. Every memory of her now felt poisoned. At work, he threw himself into projects, staying late, volunteering for weekend site visits. Friends noticed he was quieter, but he brushed it off as stress. Inside, something shifted. The trusting, forgiving David started to harden. He wasn't ready to divorce. He still loved her, or at least the version of her he thought he knew, but he couldn't go back to being the guy who got played. One night, alone with a beer on his brother's porch, he opened his laptop and searched Charles's name. LinkedIn showed he was a senior developer at a fintech startup in Uptown Charlotte. Decent money, single, no kids. Facebook and Instagram were private. But David found a few public photos. Charles at bars, on boats, always flashing that easy smile Evelyn used to swoon over in old stories. David closed the laptop and made a decision. He wasn't going to beg or explode. He was going to even the score, quietly, carefully, and when the time came, Evelyn would feel exactly what he felt. David moved back home after 10 days. Evelyn greeted him with tearful hugs and a home-cooked dinner, his favorite steak and potatoes. She'd deleted Charles from her phone, blocked him everywhere, and even showed David the confirmation emails from a therapist. She'd booked for couples counseling. She swore she'd do anything to fix it. David nodded, said the right things, and let her believe they were rebuilding. But inside, the plan was already forming. He started small. Late nights at the office, a new gym membership, fresh cologne. Evelyn noticed, smiled. Thought it was him healing. He let her think that. Through a mutual friend from college who worked in tech, David got Charles's personal email and cell number. One Thursday, using a burner app on his phone, he sent Charles an anonymous message. A single photo of Evelyn asleep in their bed, time-stamped from years ago. With the caption, "She still talks about you. Wonder what she'd do if she knew how obsessed you still are." Charles bit immediately. Who is this? Then, how do you know her? David didn't reply. He just wanted the seed planted. Make Charles think Evelyn wasn't as done with him as she claimed. A week later, Charles started texting Evelyn from a new number. She showed David the messages. Upset. "I blocked him, I swear." David comforted her, hiding his satisfaction. David kept feeding the fire. Every few days, another anonymous message to Charles. A snippet of an old love note Evelyn had written him in high school. A photo of her engagement ring with the caption, "She picked the safe choice." Charles, cocky and convinced he was the one who got away, started pushing harder flowers delivered to her office. Voicemails begging her to meet one last time to say goodbye properly. Evelyn came home shaken each time, showing David the gifts and messages. "I don't want this," she cried. "I've told him it's over." David held her, told her he believed her, suggested they file a restraining order if it continued. She clung to him, grateful he was still there. But David knew Charles wouldn't stop. He'd studied the guy's patterns. Charles thrived on the chase. So David upped the ante. One night, using the burner, he sent Charles a fake text thread screenshot. Evelyn supposedly writing, "I miss you too. David's asleep. Meet me tomorrow." Charles replied instantly, "Name the place." David never responded. Instead, he forwarded the real exchange, Charles's desperate replies to Evelyn's work email from an anonymous account. She saw it the next morning at the office. Coworkers noticed her go pale, then leave early. That evening, Evelyn confessed everything to David in tears. Charles had been harassing her, and she was scared. David suggested they go to the police. She agreed. Game almost over. The police report was filed. Charles got a formal warning, backed off immediately, and even switched jobs to avoid the drama. Word travels fast in Charlotte's tech circle. Evelyn was relieved, clinging tighter to David than ever. Counseling started. She poured her heart out, recommitted fully. 6 months later, they renewed their vows in a small backyard ceremony with close friends. Evelyn wore the same smile from their wedding day. David told her he'd forgiven her completely, but he hadn't. Every anonymous message, every photo, every nudge that pushed Charles to harass her, it had all come from David. He'd created the burner accounts, staged the evidence, even sent the flowers himself using a prepaid card. Charles never stood a chance. He was just the pawn. David watched Evelyn rebuild her trust in him, brick by brick, knowing she'd never stray again. Not because she loved him more, but because he'd made sure the alternative looked like a monster. One night, as they lay in bed, Evelyn whispered, "You saved us. David, I don't deserve you." He kissed her forehead and said, "I know." In the dark, he smiled. Revenge wasn't loud. It was quiet, patient, and permanent. She was his forever now, not by promise, but by fear disguised as love. And Charles, he still thinks Evelyn played him. The deepest revenge isn't destruction. It's making sure they never dare to betray you again. If you felt it, don't let it end here. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're pushing hard to reach 1K subscribers, and every single one of you makes it happen. More stories like this, heart-wrenching betrayals, ice-cold revenge, and twists that leave you speechless are coming every week. Subscribe now. Let's cross that 1K subscriber together. You won't want to miss what's next.